Let's solve the IELTS Reading Academic from Cambridge Book 20, Test 1. The title is The Kakapo. The subtitle tells us what the kakapo is. It is a parrot, it is nocturnal, which means it is active at night. It is flightless, so it cannot fly. It is critically endangered, which means it is at very high risk of disappearing forever. And it is one of New Zealand's special and unique birds. First, we have true, false, not given questions. These questions are in the same order as the information in the text. Here's a step by step strategy that works. Look for location keywords, find tentative location in the passage, read the question carefully, and figure out the answer. Use this formula. If all parts of the question are true, it's true. If even one part of the question is false, it's false. If even one part of the question is not given, the answer is not given. The location keywords from the questions are in bold. From these, we can see the tentative location of answers in the passage. Usually, true, false, not given answers are in one paragraph after another. But in this case, they seem to be spread over the passage. So they may skip some paragraphs. Let's start with the first question. There are other parrots that share the kakapo's inability to fly. The meaning of the question is Kakapo, which is a parrot, cannot fly, and there are other parrots which cannot fly. If both these are true, the answer is true. Here are the meanings of some words from the first paragraph in brown color, and each sentence is explained in green. You can come back to these if you have difficulty understanding any part. The first paragraph has a lot of information. The answer comes from this phrase, world's only flightless parrot. So, Kakapo is a parrot that cannot fly. The first point is true, but it is the only one. All other parrots can fly. So, the second point is false. If any part of the question is false, the answer is false. So, the answer to question 1 is false. Moving on to question 2. Adult kakapo produce chicks every year. Chicks means baby birds. We are looking for a mention of having babies or chicks, and then if chicks are produced every year or not. We found the answer to the first question here in the first paragraph. Paragraph 2 does not mention chicks, babies, etc. So we skip it. Paragraph 3 mentions chicks and breed. That's where the answer should be. Here are meanings of some words from the third paragraph in brown color, and each sentence is explained in green. You can come back to these if you have difficulty understanding any part. Chicks are mentioned in the second sentence, but the first sentence mentions breed, which means to have babies. This says, Kakapo have babies or chicks in summer and autumn. This could mean every year, but it doesn't say every summer and autumn. Then it says only in years when food is plentiful. So, in summer and autumn, if there is enough food. Otherwise, no. So, the second point in the question is wrong, it is false. They do not produce chicks every year, only some years. So, the answer to question 2 is false. Moving on to question 3. Adult male kakapo bring food back to nesting females. Nesting females are birds that are laying eggs or sitting on eggs in the nest. For this question, we look for a mention of female birds laying eggs, then see who brings them food. The question says male birds bring food for them. Let's compare this to the passage. Incubation means keeping eggs warm. This is part of nesting. This clearly says males play no part in incubation. That is, they do not help at all. Even if you do not understand the meaning of incubation, you can find the answer. This is repeated again later. Females spend long periods away searching for food, leaving eggs. This tells us males do not help. They do not bring food. So there is a mention of nesting females. Who brings them food? No one. They go out on their own to bring food. Do male birds bring them food? No, they do not. They play no part. The answer to question 3 is false. Moving on to question 4. The Polynesian rat was a greater threat to the Kakapo than Polynesian settlers. An important reading tip: the capitalized words are names, proper nouns. You don't need to understand their meanings. Settlers are people who move to another place to live there. So, Polynesian settlers are some people who moved to this place, and Polynesian rats are a type of rat. Most probably, the settlers brought the rats with them. A threat to someone means dangerous for someone. The question has these points. Polynesian settlers were dangerous to Kakapo. Polynesian rats were dangerous to Kakapo. But who was a bigger threat or who was more dangerous? The people, that is the settlers, or rats? If rats were more dangerous, then the answer is true. Polynesian is capitalized, so it is easy to locate in the passage. It is only mentioned in paragraph 4. Here are meanings of some words from the first half of the fourth paragraph in brown color, and each sentence is explained in green. And these are meanings from the second half. You can come back to these if you have difficulty understanding any part. Settlers are people who move to live in or settle in a new place. Here, the settlers arrived in New Zealand. The early settlers are the Polynesian settlers mentioned in the previous sentence. Prey means the animal which is hunted and killed. So the settlers hunted and killed Kakapo. This means the settlers were a threat to the Kakapo. The first point is correct. Then it mentions dog and rat. They also preyed on Kakapo. So they were also a threat. The second point of the question is correct. But who was more dangerous or who was a bigger threat? We don't know. It is not given. Because this information is not given, the answer to question 4 is not given. Moving on to question 5. Kakapo were transferred from Rakura Island to other locations because they were at risk from feral cats. Feral cats means wild cats. The points we are looking for are: Kakapo were moved from this island to other places. The reason for the transfer was that Kakapo were at risk or there was some danger to them. And the danger was feral cats. Rakura Island is mentioned in two paragraphs, 6 and 7. But feral cats are mentioned only in paragraph 7. Here are meanings of some words from the 7th paragraph in brown color, and each sentence is explained in green. You can come back to these if you have difficulty understanding any part. We focus on the first two sentences of the paragraph where feral cats are mentioned. Predation means hunting, and rapid decline means a fast drop. So, feral cats hunted Kakapo, so the number of Kakapo dropped. From this, we can say that Kakapo were at risk from feral cats. Point 3 is true, but we need to check why Kakapo were moved from this island. In the paragraph, the next sentence starts with as a result. This is very important here. It tells us that because of what happened in the previous sentence, the next thing happened. Surviving population refers to the Kakapo population. Evacuated means transferred or moved. The other locations mentioned in the question are the three island sanctuaries where Kakapo were moved. So all the points in the question are correct, and the answer to question 5 is true. Moving on to question 6. One recovery plan initiative that helped increase the Kakapo population size was caring for struggling young birds. Initiative means a plan or action. Recovery plan is in capitals, so it is the name of an initiative. This part of the sentence, that helped increase the Kakapo population size, gives extra information about the sentence. First, let's break the question into two simpler sentences. One recovery plan initiative was caring for struggling young birds, and this initiative helped increase the Kakapo population size. The points in the question that we need to check for are a recovery plan initiative or plan to increase the Kakapo population, and this initiative took care of young baby birds or chicks that were struggling or that were weak. If both these are correct, answer would be true. Recovery plan is mentioned in three paragraphs, 8, 9, and 10. We are also looking for some mention of increase in population and young or baby birds. Increase in population is mentioned in paragraph 9, but there is nothing about baby birds. Chicks are mentioned at the end of paragraph 8. And there is also some mention of increase in population. Also, in the previous paragraph, paragraph 7, the need to increase the population is mentioned. And the next paragraph talks about a recovery plan to increase this population. So we can be almost sure that the answer would be in paragraph 8. Here are meanings of some words from the 8th paragraph in brown color, and each sentence is explained in green. You can come back to these if you have difficulty understanding any part. The whole paragraph has details of the recovery plan. Renewed steps taken, cats eradicated, rats removed, and birds managed. And then, as part of managing birds, three things are mentioned: moving birds, feeding the adults, and rescuing failing chicks. This third thing is exactly what is mentioned in the question. Hand raising means caring for or feeding young birds by hand. Failing chicks means struggling young birds. So, an important thing here is that where we find the answer, recovery plan is not mentioned, increase in population size is not directly mentioned. But this sentence is connected to the previous sentence. The previous sentence is connected to what all was done as part of the recovery plan. Let's now look at the points in the question. The recovery plan was there to increase the population. And one of the things which was done as a part of this recovery plan was hand raising the failing chicks or caring for struggling young birds. So both the points from the question are true. The answer to question 6 is true. Here are the answers to all the true false not given questions and their locations in the passage. One interesting thing here is that some answers skip paragraphs and are very far away from the previous answer. We skipped paragraph 2 and then paragraphs 5 and 6. The answers to true false not given questions are in order. They can be very close, like questions 2 and 3, but sometimes they skip paragraphs as well. Some answers are easy to locate, but still difficult. Here, question 2 was a difficult one. We can see that the answer is from this one sentence, but it can still be confusing. Also, some capitalized words are mentioned many times. Recovery plan is mentioned in 3 paragraphs, but then we look for other keywords. Like in this one, we were looking for struggling young birds. Now we start with the next set of questions, the gap fill questions. The answers are in the same order as the information in the text. So the steps we follow are: identify location keywords from the questions, get the tentative location of the answer in the passage, understand one question closely and find the answer. We find the exact words from the passage for the answer. An important instruction is how many words are allowed in the answer. Here it says one word and or a number. This means the answer can have only one word, only one number, or one word plus a number. We start with the location keywords. Capitalized words are easy to locate. Here we have Polynesian, European, Richard Henry, Rakura Island, and Recovery Plan. But there could be other words that may help, like fern fronds. These are distinct words. Most probably, there won't be a synonym of this. Also, the question has subheadings. These also help in locating answers. Here we can see some of the keywords in the passage. Let's start with the seventh question. The main heading is New Zealand's Kakapo. Then the subheading is a type of parrot. Then there are 2 points. One is about diet, that is what they eat. The second is about nests and eggs. The seventh question is: diet consists of fern fronds, various parts of a tree, and blank. So, Kakapo eats 3 things: fern fronds, different parts of a tree. We have to find the third thing. Diet and fern fronds are mentioned in the second paragraph. Here are meanings of some words from the second paragraph in brown color, and each sentence is explained in green. You can come back to these if you have difficulty understanding any part. We'll focus on the last sentence. Here it says, their diet includes fern fronds, leaves, roots, and bark of trees. These are all various parts of tree. The third thing is bulbs. Bulbs are underground parts of plants. So, the third thing Kakapo eat is bulbs. Therefore, the answer to the seventh question is bulbs. Moving on to question 8. Nests are created in blank where eggs are laid. This means where are the nests built, and in this place eggs are laid. For the previous question, we found the answer at the end of paragraph 2. Eggs and nests are mentioned in paragraph 3. Here are meanings of some words from the third paragraph in brown color, and each sentence is explained in green. You can come back to these if you have difficulty understanding any part. Nest is mentioned only in the last sentence of paragraph 3. But this sentence says that females leave the nest to search for food and the eggs are left uncared for. There is no information about where the nest is built. The previous sentence mentions laying of eggs. It says eggs are laid in soil. We do not have any other information. We know that eggs are laid in nests and it says eggs are laid in soil. So we can assume that nests are in soil. So the answer to question 8 is soil. This is a difficult one because the direct answer is not stated. It must be understood from the information given. Moving on to the ninth question. The blank of Kakapo were used to make clothes. The subheading before it is Arrival of Polynesian Settlers. Settlers are people who come to a place to live. So, when the Polynesian settlers arrived, something of the kakapo was used to make clothes. Kakapo is a bird, so some part of the bird must have been used. The word Polynesian is mentioned only in the fourth paragraph. Here are the meanings of some words from the first half of the fourth paragraph, and the meaning of each sentence is there in green. And these are meanings from the second half. You can come back to these if you have difficulty understanding any part. Polynesian settlers are mentioned in only three sentences. After that, Europeans are mentioned and there is no more reference to Polynesians. So we'll focus on these three sentences. The passage says they ate its meat and used its feathers to make soft cloaks. Cloaks are loose, coat like clothes. So, they used feathers to make cloaks or they used feathers to make clothes. The answer to the ninth question is feathers. Moving on to the 10th question. An animal which they introduced that ate the kakapo's food sources. The subheading mentions European. So, Europeans brought an animal. This animal ate the same thing that Kakapo ate. We are looking for this animal. Europeans are only mentioned in the fourth paragraph. This is where we found the answer to the previous question. Europeans are mentioned just after this. It says Europeans arrived, then they mention a drop in Kakapo numbers. After this, many animals are mentioned that were introduced by Europeans: deer, cats, stoats, and rats. Cats, stoats, and rats are predators. They hunted and killed Kakapo. But the question is asking for an animal that ate the same food that Kakapo ate. This says deer depleted the remaining forests of food. It doesn't directly say Kakapo's food, but before this, it is mentioned that Europeans accelerated the fall in Kakapo numbers. That is, the number of Kakapo reduced faster, and then details are given. Their habitat, that is, where they lived, was lost, and their food was depleted or reduced. So, deer were introduced and they ate the same food. An important point here is that the plural of deer is deer. There is no word as deers. The question uses were, so you might think it must be a plural word ending in s. But deer is both singular and plural, so it fits perfectly. The answer to the 10th question is deer. Moving on to question 11. A definite sighting of female kakapo on Rakura Island was reported in the year blank. Sighting means to see something. Definite sighting means seeing something for sure. So, if you say, maybe I saw this person, you are unsure, that is not a definite sighting. There is a sentence between questions 10 and 11. It mentions a name. Then Rakura Island is mentioned in question 11. So Richard Henry is mentioned in paragraph 5. Rakura Island is mentioned only in paragraphs 6 and 7. So we skip paragraph 5. There are no answers from this paragraph. Even true false not given skipped this paragraph. So, for your reference, here are meanings of some words from the fifth paragraph, and each sentence is explained in green. Let's now focus on paragraphs 6 and 7. Rakura Island is mentioned in both, but females are only mentioned in paragraph 6. Here are simplified meanings of paragraph 6. You can come back to these if you have difficulty understanding any part. Here it says in 1977, males were spotted or males were seen. In 1980, it was confirmed that females were also present. Confirmed means definite. So the answer to question 11 is 1980. A confusing thing could be that some years are also mentioned in paragraph 7 and Rakura Island is mentioned again. But there is no mention of males or females in this paragraph. Moving on to question 12. The recovery plan included an increase in blank. So we are looking for what increased as part of the recovery plan. Because both the words here are capitalized, they are easy to locate. Recovery plan is mentioned in 3 paragraphs, 8, 9, and 10. So we look for any reference to increase in something. We see higher amount of, increase, and grown. This could all mean increase. So let's focus on paragraph 8 first. Here are meanings of some words from the 8th paragraph in brown color, and each sentence is explained in green. You can come back to these if you have difficulty understanding any part. The first sentence says, a new recovery plan was launched or started with a higher amount of funding. I've crossed out the extra information in the sentence. With is included, higher amount of is increase. Funding means money. The answer is funding. But let's see the other mentions of increase. They mention an increase in population. There are 2 reasons why population is not the correct answer. First, the increase in population happened after the recovery plan, not as part of it. So, this growth happened as a result of the plan, not included in the plan. So, population increase is an effect, not an included item. So, the second reason is that the question is asking about the recovery plan, not about results. The recovery plan included certain things. They are listed in paragraph 8. More funding, predator control, intensive management, moving birds, supplementary feeding, hand raising chicks. Population is not listed as something the plan included. It is something that changed after. So, population is not the answer. The answer to question 12 is funding. Moving on to question 13. A current goal of the recovery plan is to maintain the involvement of something in Kakapo protection. Something or someone was part of the plan. The goal or aim now is that this something or someone continues to be a part, that is, involved in the future. Recovery plan is mentioned in 3 paragraphs. This is where we found the answer to the previous question in paragraph 8. So we start looking after this. Paragraphs 8 and 9 talk about the recovery plan in the past. We can see clearly that this is all about the past. Paragraph 10 uses the word today, which matches current from the question. So only paragraph 10 contains the information for this question. We skip paragraph 9. There are no answers from this paragraph. We skipped it while doing true false not given as well. For your reference, each sentence of this paragraph is explained in green. And similarly, here are meanings of the 10th paragraph. You can come back to these if you have difficulty understanding any part. Key goals means main goals. So 3 current goals are mentioned. The answer will come from one of these. This is the first goal. The second goal mentions the word maintain. This says maintain habitat, that is, preserve the home of Kakapo. This does not fit into maintain the involvement of. The third goal has continue to be engaged in. This means maintain the involvement of. Stakeholders are people or groups involved or interested in something. This is a great word for essay writing. For example, teachers and students are the stakeholders in education. We can write, education policies should be created after consulting key stakeholders such as teachers and parents. Here, stakeholders means people who care about or want to help protect the kakapo. So, the current goal is that stakeholders continue to be fully engaged in or maintain the involvement. The answer to question 13 is stakeholders. Here are all the answers of gap fill questions with their locations in the passage. We see that the answers are in order, but there's a lot of gap between some answers. We skipped some paragraphs between answers. So, identifying location keywords from questions and finding tentative location helps save time. Some questions were rather confusing. I found question 8 slightly difficult because the answer is not directly mentioned. But because I knew the answer was from just 2 or 3 sentences, it helped. Questions 12 and 13 were also comparatively difficult. So we discussed the possible confusions as well. And finally, knowing that plural of deer is deer and not deers helped. With this, we are done with all the questions of Book 20, Test 1, Passage 1. I'll see you with solutions to the rest of this test in future videos. Bye for now. Hope this helped you. All the very best.